It's Algebra 1. Test number 6 is part 2. We're picking up on number 16. Says the total cost to rent a rowboat is 16 times the number of hours the boat is used. Write an equation to model the situation if C equals total cost, H equals number of hours. So it's 16 times the number of hours. The hours are unknown, but we have a variable we can represent it. It says represent H with hours. So 16 times H, or 16H, is equal to the total cost C. That would be your equation right there. C equals 16H. If you wrote it backwards, it would mean the same thing. C equals 16H. Number 17 tells you to write the fraction in simplest form. The easiest way to do problems like this, anytime you got 0 at the back of two numbers like that, you can do this. 2/3. If that don't make sense to you, the number 2 goes into both of them. I'm sorry, 10. 2 does, but 10's even better. 10 goes into 20 twice, and it goes into 33 times. So 2/3 is the best answer. Write 4 times 4 times 4 using an exponent. 4 times itself 3 times, 4 to the third. Write 0.8 squared in standard form. That means 0.8 times 0.8. We know the number 8 times 8 is going to be 64, but we got to move that decimal once, twice, and it becomes once, twice, 0.64, standard form. 20. It says 0.05 times 5.7. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus the 3 that you had to carry is 28. So we got 285, but we got 2 decimal moves, 3 decimal moves, and it becomes 1, 2, 3.285. 2/6 plus 5/10. Problems with fractions is that the bottom number, the denominator, has to be alike. The smallest number that both of these go into is the number 30. If you use 60, it'll still work. You'll just have bigger numbers to reduce at the end. 30 is the smallest denominator that they have in common. This has to multiply by 5 to become 30, so 2 has to multiply by 5 to become 10. This has to multiply by 3 to become 30, so 5 has to multiply by 3 to become 15. Now we got common denominators, and we have the tops of the numerators transformed as well. The bottom number is the same, 30, so leave it that way. 10 plus 15 is 25. The number 5 goes into both of these, into this one 5 times, into this one 6 times. 5/6. Same thing with this one. 6/12 minus 1/8. They have to have the same bottom number, a common denominator. 24 is their least common denominator. 12 has to multiply by 2 to become 24, so 6 has to multiply by 2, and it becomes 12. 8 has to multiply by 3 to become 24, so 1 has to multiply by 3, and it becomes 3. Bottom number is now the same, 24. 12 minus 3 straight across is 9. See what number goes into both of these. The number 3 does. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and it goes into 24 8 times. 3/8. Division is slightly easier than addition and subtraction because you don't have to make common denominators. That's the holdup for most people. But you do have to change division into multiplication. The first fraction stays the same, 2/3. The division becomes multiplication, and you use the reciprocal. Fancy word just means flip it over. 8/9 becomes 9/8. You can multiply straight across 2 times 9 and get 18, 3 times 8 and get 24, or you can cross cancel. We can cross cancel both of them here. 3 goes into itself once and into 9 3 times. Also, 2 goes into itself once and into 8 4 times. We're dealing with a lot smaller numbers that way if you cross cancel straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4, 3/4. Again, if you did go straight across, you would just have to reduce it to 3/4 eventually. Just an easier way to deal with smaller numbers. 23, write this as a fraction in the simplest form. You have to know your places. When we do this problem, typically I don't tell you what place this one is. This is the ones place. This one is the tenths place. This one is the 100th place. So since it's the hundredths place, you always go to the last one to determine where it is when you write it. There are 38 100ths in there based on the fact that it is in the hundredths place. Write it in simplest form. You might not know what the greatest common factor, because 38 is not a very common number, but it is even. 30 is 15, 8 is 4, so 19 goes into that one twice, and 50 goes into this one twice. 19 is a prime number. There are no other numbers that go into it, so 19 over 50 is your simplified form. Writing 0.98 as a percent, again, per hundred, we just said a second ago that this was the hundredths place. So there are 98 per hundred, and since it is per hundred, then it'll be 98%. Again, another way most people prefer to do this, when they see that, they just remember, I got to move that decimal 2 times to the right, once, twice, 98%. Same thing. Same answer, different method. Number 26, a car travels 379 miles in 7 hours. Find the unit rate. Think of miles per hour. Think of riding in a car, miles per hour, like this, miles per hour. Okay, so 379 miles is first, 7 hours is second. So 379 divided by 7 is what you wind up with. You get this, 54.14, and it continues past that 28, and it goes right there. But it tells us in the directions to round to the nearest tenth. That means one space after the decimal right here. We don't want to show any numbers bigger than this, or any decimal places, any places past that. So we have to determine if we want to leave this as 54.1 or if we want to round it up to 54.2. This number, being the fact that it is not 5 or greater, tells us that we're going to leave it at 54.1 miles per hour. '27 says to evaluate u plus yx, or u plus xy, excuse me, when u is 14, this place right here, plus x is 3 right here, times y is 10 right here. Order of operations says do multiplication first. 3 and 10 is 30, plus 14 is 44. Evaluate AB squared when A is 4 and B is 3. Again, in your order of operations, we have this in parentheses. A's value is 4 times B's value is 3. Order of operations says to do parentheses first. 4 times 3 is 12. That is being squared means 12 times itself, not times 2. If you got 24, you didn't do the right operation. It's 12 times 12, which is 144. Number 29 is Celsius to Fahrenheit. You're going to see this formula a lot, especially when you get in your chemistry class. You can use the formula C equals 5 over 9 times F minus 32 to convert temperature in Fahrenheit to temperature in Celsius. What is 80 degrees? What is 80 degrees Fahrenheit in degrees Celsius? Easiest way to do this, in place of this formula, in place of F, we're going to plug in 80. So C equals 5 over 9 times 80 minus 32. Notice we just plugged it in place of F. 80 minus 32 is going to be 48. So we have 5 over 9 times 48 is equal to Celsius. So if we multiply straight across, 5 times 48, we get 240 at the top. 240, and 9 times 1 is 9. If we divide that by 9, we get 26.666, and it keeps repeating. So Celsius equals 26.66, and it keeps repeating. But again, just like a minute ago with the miles per hour, it tells us to round to the nearest tenth. So we only want to go to here. So it's going to be either 26.6 or it's going to be 26.7. The number after that one right there tells us it's 5 or greater. So it's going to say the Celsius degrees is 26.7 degrees if it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 says a mountain climber ascends. You got to know what that word means, everybody. Ascends. Goes up. The peak is 10,500 feet above sea level. It says he ascends to the peak, so that's where he's at. 10,570 feet. It says the climber then descends 400 feet. If ascends meant going up, descends means going down. So minus 400 feet to meet a fellow climber. Find his elevation above sea level. Well, we know it's 10,570 feet above sea level, so simply subtract those. He met the other climber at 10,170 feet above sea level. Number 31 says the temperature on a summer afternoon is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Define a variable and write an expression to find the temperature after it changes. Then evaluate your expression for a decrease of 13 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it says after it changes. It doesn't say it's going to go up or down. So we'll say 72 degrees plus X. And if it changes, if it goes down, we can add a negative value, which is what we're going to do based on this. It says then evaluate it for a decrease of 13. So all we're going to do is say X is equal to negative 13. And in place of that one, we have something that says 72 plus negative 13. Opposite signs, you subtract them then. 12 minus 3 is 9. 6 minus 1 is 5. So 59 degrees is what it would be. 32 says to evaluate B minus 2A is minus C for A is negative 8. So notice they're not in their regular order. B minus 2 times A minus C. Make sure you put them in the right spot. A's value is negative 8. So in place of A, that's where we're going to plug it in. B's value is 4. So in place of B, we're going to stick in 4. And C's value is negative 6. So in place of C, we're going to put in negative 6. Remember, this acts like a negative 1 right here. So let's do our multiplication first. 4 is going to stay by itself. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 8 is 16. Negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 6 is 6. 4 plus 6 is 20. 20 plus 6 is 26. $33 says you made 2 deposits to your bank account this month, 2 of them. One deposit was $18.61. The second deposit was $15.53. Deposit means you're putting money in it. So that's adding money. Your balance at the end of the month was $72.31. And you made no withdrawals, so you didn't subtract any money. Write and evaluate an expression for your balance at the beginning of the month. X, it has to be an unknown amount. We don't know what it is. X plus 1861 plus 1553 equals 7231 at the end of the month. So if we combine those two numbers, we can combine like terms 1861 and 1553. 3 and 1 is 4, 6 and 5 is 11, carry your 1, 9 and 5 is 14, carry your 1 again. $34.14 is what was put into the bank when you put those two together, equals $72.31. So mental math, since we haven't talked about inverse operations yet, mental math. What number plus $34.14 is equal to $72.31? So when you subtract 7231 minus 3414, the number that X comes out to is $38.17. 34 says simplify 8 times 599 using the distributive property. That's almost 600. So 8 times 600 minus 1. 8 times 600 is 4,800. 8 times negative 1 is minus 8. So 4,800 minus 8 is 4,792. Same thing with this one. Distributed property for 8 CDs at $14.99 a piece. 8, almost $15. So times 15 minus 1 cent. 8 times 15, 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 plus 4 is 120. Minus 8 times 1 cent is 8 cents. So $120 minus 8 cents is $119.92.